Why does the Eurovision Song Contest hate the UK? That's the question we're looking at. It's Mark and Pete coming to you live. Now, I'm Pete, the clergyman, and over to my left, Mark is a businessman. Anyway, what have you got for us today, Mark? Something to do with the Eurovision Song Contest and how much they hate us. It's understandable, though, I suppose.
Yes, clergyman Pete, my ears are still burning, shall we say. Yeah. Yes, I would say it's very much a case of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, yes, of course. Yeah. Now, anyone who was glued to the Eurovision Song Contest would notably point out that the Italian entry won. And this was unusual for a number of reasons. One, that it was more of a, should we say, a heavy metal sound as opposed to a twinkly, tinkly traditional Eurovision song, which tends to sort of wash across the screens and the airways. But what was most noticeable is that when they came to actually scoring all of the 1 million songs that seemed to be poured out over the contest. There weren't literally 1 million, in fact, but it seemed like that because it was exhaustive. But what you may notice...
Exhaustive or exhausting?
Both.
Both. Okay.
But what I would say is that propping up the table was a certain country, again, which is the United Kingdom. And they got 0 points. Yes, folks, once again, I must admit that not being an expert, of course, on the popular music of the day, I did note that, in my opinion, United Kingdom artistically didn't deserve 0 points. However, I would also say that artistically, the group that won, the Italy's group, certainly wasn't Vivaldi, shall we say. And from a musical perspective, I did think that the whole thing was very well produced, but was a bit ear-piercingly painful.
Mm-hmm. So now the winner, as I understand it this year, was Måneskin.
Yes.
Which...
follow them greatly, yes. Yeah.
There's we're big fans on this show. Now, the names are unfortunate, I think, translated to English, as indeed is the whole jamboree. It doesn't really translate well into English, I think. So the song that they performed, the little ditty, was Zitty I Buoni. Now, someone who is zitty in British parlance would be covered in spots, maybe squeezing them into the mirror and that sort of thing. No, I didn't see the show. It was that the appearance
there,
was yes, of course, yes. Bringing in a bit of personal anecdote. Would you say that? I know that you were glued to it. What would you say that is the sort of impression they were going to give? That there were a bunch of poisonous boils.
Well, I must admit that sadly.
That came across that way anyway. Is that what
they did have that look about them. But, I mean, I will give their musical prowess some credibility. I thought that they performed their little ditty live very well. Yeah. But what was surprising was the scoring mechanism overall. I thought it was obviously political. If anyone had noticed, apart from the United Kingdom getting 0 points, you could see that anyone who had a bit of angst with their neighbours didn't get many points.
That is our problem. So our answer to our original question, why do they hate us? It's politics, is it? It's just because, not simply the Brexit has occurred. I think we can say that this has been going on for years, hasn't it?
Well, it has been going on for years.
Although Britain has won in the past.
Yes, Britain went through a period where it was a regular winner, but it hasn't won for many, many years now. Now, I will say that some of the United Kingdom's entries have been variable in quality. I would think that this particular year wasn't really exceptional, but it didn't deserve 0 points. But I think there's something else as well. It's not really a Eurovision Song Contest anymore, is it? Because, when you've got Azerbaijan
it's much broader,
and you've got other countries outside of Europe, it's really more of an international song contest, which in itself is a good thing. But I still maintain it's become a pantomime. Many people are sort of switching on, really, to be amused by the costumes. And perhaps here's a little thought from my side, which I think is really what sums it up, and which is the Eurovision Song Contest has for many years brought much joy and many tears. With the UK always running in arrears, its best effort simply disappears. But through the laughter and the cheers come the international public smears. However, the one thing that everyone fears, it inevitably brings torture to our ears. And that's the bit that I'd have to complain about.
Yes.
It would be a wonderful spectacle if there was no sound.
Yes, that's yes, I suppose that's so. But I mean, I think that the music is funny as well. If you talk about the amusement value, it is amusing. Well, going back historically in Britain, of course, it was Terry Wogan, the Irish, originating in Ireland, DJ, who made rather ironic comments. I understand the first time he made really sarcastic comments was because he'd lost his notes. That's the story anyway. He had these notes written on cards and then he lost them or they got in the wrong order, so he just made it up. And so he was saying ridiculous things about them. And it turns out that the ridiculous things were far better than reality, so he carried on.
I don't think it's possible to make it any more ridiculous than it already is.
But going back historically, I mean, there have been some good records, haven't there? I mean, would you say some of the winners hold up?
I must admit that there have been some fine records of the past. Now, of course, we might be seen as perhaps curmudgeons, thinking if we hark back to the 1970s of Brotherhood of Man and Save All Your Kisses for Me, or, of course, the famous Making Your Mind Up and Why Don't You? Yes, of course, by Bucks Fizz. But those days have long gone.
But I believe Britain did win 97.
Yes, it did.
Shine a Light, yes.
That's right, with a Canadian singer.
Acclaimed for Britain, though.
Yes, they're quite.
Yes, so, but that's some time ago now.
Yes, well, the light has gone
97.
dim.
Yeah. So I think we can say, just looking at the spectacle, I mean, I couldn't bring myself to do it, but we've answered the question, why is it that the Eurovision Song Contest, or more strictly, the countries voting in it, hate us? I mean, I think the format doesn't help in that it allows people to vote in that way. You could have some sort of panel where it takes into account the votes, but have some expert comment and input, much like they do on X Factor and that sort of thing.
One other way of doing it, which I think might get away should we say, remove the political side, it would be difficult, but you don't know necessarily which country they're representing.
Yeah,
meaning that they come on as act number 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through to 769 million.
Yes,
and then they get voted upon. Now, you might have an idea by the language in which they're sort of singing in.
Well, that'd be fascinating because the British could sing in a German accent. You know, they could do
maybe that's the strategy.
They could sing a song,
I like the fact
My Fatherland or something.
I like the fact that the winners, your Måneskin,
praising the Third Reich.
Well, they apparently were alleged to have taken drugs. During
the winners?
The show. Yes. And that's why
well, you see, I think we should have mandatory drugs testing in the Eurovision Song Contest because they have it elsewhere. I think that is the answer.
What, for the audience?
That's the way for. No, for the audience, drugs need to be administered. It's for their own good, for their own mental health. And so, in conclusion, Mark, what we're saying is this is a travesty of a musical contest. This is utterly ridiculous. The stupid songs, flamboyant and ridiculously camp costumes, and everyone's laughing at it. So, long may it continue.
Absolutely, keep it going. Have it every week.
That's it. That's it for Mark and Pete for this week. And remember to click like, subscribe, and all that sort of stuff. And we'll see you next time.